board meeting today regarding the actions of placing an EEO on Odessa on the 14th of October 2016. Can you please state your understanding of what a mental illness is?
A mental illness is a condition characterized by a clinically significant disturbance of thought, mood, perception, or memory, as per section 12.1 of the Mental Health Act 2000.
Thank you. And your understanding of what a mental illness is not?
One or more of the following is not classified as a mental illness. The person holds or refuses to hold a particular religious, cultural, philosophical, or political belief or opinion, is a member of a particular racial group, has a particular economic or social status, has a particular sexual preference or sexual orientation, engages in sexual promiscuity, engages in immoral or indecent contact, the person takes drugs or alcohol, has an intellectual disability, engages in antisocial behavior or illegal behavior, is or has been involved in family conflict, has previously been treated for a mental illness, or been subjected to involuntary assessment or treatment, and this is per section 12.2 of the Mental Health Act 2000.
Thank you. Now we have recorded data of your understanding. We would like to look at the particular case in question.
Okay.
Or at the time of treatment, do you believe Odessa was presenting with a clinically significant disturbance of thought, mood, perception, or memory?
I believe she had a disturbance of thought. When I treated her, she believed that running an errand was more important than her health. And even after crashing her car and putting herself and others in danger, she refused transport.
At any point, did you consider she may be uneducated about her condition and the consequences of refusing treatment? It was your duty as a treating paramedic to explain this information to her, after which she may have come voluntarily.
You're right, I didn't explain the risks of refusing treatment, but she wouldn't have come anyway.
So you did not take the time to explore this particular less restrictive pathway before placing an EEO on her?
No.
Listening to your reasoning, the board cannot agree that this individual did have a mental illness, and due to this, the bioethic of autonomy was not met because you deprived her of her decisions and also didn't follow the justice principle, as this is not equal or fair treatment. So essentially, you placed an EEO using the Mental Health Act 2000, section 36, on this 17-year-old because she refused transport. Because if you took her to a hospital under an EEO, there would be no management required for a mental illness, which is similar to the St. George's Healthcare NHS Trust versus S case in 1998.
Well, at the time, I thought she was a danger to herself.
Well, according to the Mental Health Act 2000, section 33, you can only place an EEO if you reasonably believe that she had a mental illness, and because of this mental illness, there is a significant risk of physical harm to herself or others, and proceeding under Division 2 would cause significant delay and increase the risk of harm, and the person should be taken to an authorised mental health service for examination to decide whether a request or recommendation for assessment should be made.
Well, if I just left her there, she would have had another hypoglycemic episode, and I would have just been here for negligence anyway.
Yes, but to justify placing an EEO and depriving her of her liberty, all of the requirements that I just stated must be met, not just one.
Well, what about section 14 of the Mental Health Act 2000 that states that the treatment criteria of a mental illness puts them at imminent risk of causing harm to themselves or others?
But if there is no less restrictive way of ensuring the person receives appropriate treatment for this illness, of which you did not do, you did not see if her parents were available to come and wait for her. You did not see if you could get a friend to wait for the truck so you could take her home and get someone to watch over her and watch her eat and take her medication. In regards to negligence, as per Section 9 of the Civil Liability Act of Queensland, there was a duty of care. If you left her unattended, there would have been a breach, and a hypoglycemic episode was a reasonably foreseeable damage, which would have been caused by the breach. However, there were multiple less restrictive pathways which would have not required an EEO, but would have avoided a hypoglycemic episode.
Yeah, but I thought that more capacity is needed depending on how big the decision is, and involved an understanding of the condition and the consequences of refusing treatment. She could have potentially died from another hypoglycemic episode. That makes me think she needed more capacity than what she displayed to refuse medical treatment.
You did not inform her about the nature of her condition and the potential outcomes for refusing treatment. Thus, you could have not determined her capacity and ability to state a valid refusal, as the laws of refusing medical treatment are very clear and consist of 3 elements. The decision is voluntary, the decision to refuse relates to the current circumstances, and the person has the capacity to refuse.
Say even if I did explain the consequences to her, she was 17. That means she doesn't have capacity, and thus cannot state a valid refusal anyway.
Due to Odessa being 17, she is considered a minor under the Law Reform Act 1995, Queensland, Section 17. This means according to the Family Law Act 1975, Section 61C, her parents get to make medical decisions for her unless she can display Gillick competence, which means that minors can make decisions about their healthcare if it can be demonstrated the young person is sufficiently mature and is capable of understanding the nature and consequences of the decision. This common law was reinforced in Australia with Marion's case in 1992. Because you did not explain to her the consequences, it could not have been evaluated as to whether she was capable of understanding them. Other factors that should have been taken into account was her age, emotional development, intelligence, education, and her social and family circumstances. Due to her being 17, you should have attempted to identify if she did have Gillick's competence, and this would have given her a valid refusal, and even if she didn't have it, there were still other less restrictive pathways that could have been implemented. She did not explore any less restrictive pathways other than an EEO, she did not have a mental illness, you did not take time to evaluate her capacity and Gillick's competence in order to state a valid refusal. It is decided that you unnecessarily used an EEO, and further training will be required on this section, which will be discussed in our next meeting.